Australia's peak competition and consumer regulator is investigating a Gold Coast four-wheel drive hire company that's been accused of operating an elaborate scam for allegedly unreasonably charging tourists thousands of dollars. The ABC has spoken to more than a dozen people who say they've been stung, some with money taken out of their accounts without being told, blamed for damage they didn't cause, and when they've tried to hit back, they say they've either been sued or threatened with defamation. The company denies any wrongdoing. It says the tourists are negligent and should have read the fine print in their contracts first.
Gavin Bullis knows cars. He's raced them for years. So when the four-wheel drive he hired to visit Cape York first had contaminated fuel, then stopped altogether, he says he knew exactly what the problem was.
I knew that it was a turbo issue. I had no lights on the dash to say that it had run out of oil. And on looking at the gauge, I knew that we hadn't lost any oil pressure.
But Australian four-wheel drive hire contends the engine seized after running out of oil. It's suing Mr Bullis for $33,000 in the Brisbane Magistrates Court.
This guy seems to, prey on the fact that people have problems with the car and I think he makes his money out of actually suing them.
Nowra orthopaedic surgeon Ian Davison is just as furious. GPS tracking pegged him for allegedly exceeding the speed limit 140 times. He disputes the readings, which the company used to argue damage to the vehicle.
But they allege wear and tear, and arbitrarily and unilaterally they declared that the wear and tear was costing $1,000, and that's what they charged us.
There were no police speeding fines.
What gives them an authority to think that they are both the arbiter and prosecutor of speeding, which has really got nothing to do with them. That's got everything to do with the regulatory authorities.
But Vitaly Roach, former company director, now fleet manager, says 99% of customers are happy. He insists he only sues for gross negligence, not mechanical breakdown, and that bond is never withheld nor extra charges imposed without clear reasoning and full evidence. Israeli tourist Yael Gati and her husband lost their $5,000 security bond. Dr Gati says the company highlighted a shocking driver behaviour record, which she disputes. Your driving behaviour was unlike anything we have ever seen. You managed to accumulate more violations and reach higher speeds than any other customer in the history of our business. Just one speeding violation is grounds for complete forfeiture of your bond, let alone 2,673. She doesn't accept the readings, but back in Israel there was little she could do.
I'm living way far away. I have absolutely no will to spend more money on a lawyer out there in Australia to fight them, and they know that.
That's how Melbourne man Shaw Gillen felt when the company threatened to sue him for nearly $15,000.
I was devastated.
His vehicle became stuck crossing a waterway along the old telegraph track.
But if you went into water, forget about it. We are not going to help you. We are not going to pay for any accommodation. We are not going for... It's all on you.
Mr Gillen eventually settled for $2,500.
It's really just a rort. It's a scam.
Australian four-wheel drive hire operates out of the Q1 on the Gold Coast.
So is there someone who could come down and speak to me at all?
Vitaly Roach is a Russian businessman, an undischarged bankrupt. In an extensive statement, he defends the company's practices. If we were ripping people off or scamming customers, it would be quite absurd for us to be taking them to court where we are fully exposed. We have always operated in an ethical and moral way towards our customers. 10 cases have been lodged in the Brisbane Magistrates Court in the past 2 years, with the company seeking up to $50,000. Some clients have settled, others are vowing to fight, protesting over what they say is a scam. Mr Roche says it's all laid out in the contract terms and conditions. The fine print is telling, alerting customers a GPS will track them. Engaging in prohibited operation like speeding will cause excessive wear and tear, and the hirer will be liable. It also warns not to defame the company, including leaving negative reviews. The company says insurance can be voided if terms and conditions aren't met. After receiving complaints, the ACCC is now investigating. Leonie Mellor, ABC News.